Well, I don't know if it's going to work, but I always prefer to stand. Then I have a better view on the audience, then I see who is going to sleep, and so I can wake this person up. But first of all, I'd like to thank you very, very much for the invitation to be here. It's a great honor. I also have, before I forget, I have to thank the translators, because I know I was the only one here in the audience for which they have translated everything. So it was great. They did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. Now I also have a job in trying to summarize what has been said. I've been, of course, preparing this presentation at home. I prepared a presentation of about 10 minutes. I have 20 minutes. But after all the information, now I have a presentation of about 3 hours. So I hope you have still a little bit time. But I try to reduce it as much as possible. And I've tried to use some slides which are not used here, but I've tried to also include some of the remarks, some of the examples in the summary of this presentation. And to say a few words, the organizers took an enormous risk to invite somebody not from Italy here, not even from France. I'm from the Netherlands. But I'm now living for 3 years in the south of France, in Montpellier. And Stefano Serri is one of the responsibles that I'm now here, because he is working at a university, the University of Montpellier too, which is one of the tutels, one of the owners of the Joint Research Center, which I was asked to head for the past and for the coming years. And that is together with other research centers and universities, because also CIRAT is a research center focusing on developing countries, and since the theme of Expo 2015 is feeding the planet, we are talking about not only Europe but about the world, and they have about 500 people working in developing countries to know what's really going on there, and they are one of our owners. INRA is the National Institute for Agronomy in France, and Subagro is a specialized university, especially in agri-food. And in the domain of biopolymers and new technologies, they have set up this joint research center, which is called IAT, which I'm heading. I'm also involved in EFOS, the European Federation for Food Science, and the chair in Unesco on sustainable food systems, and I think those topics discussed there hopefully could also contribute to the program that you are developing for Expo 2015, and it's really a pleasure with our colleagues there to help in preparation of the program. Now, I think to say a little bit a word about where I'm coming from and also related to the topics already discussed, we are focusing on post-harvest. So agriculture has been managed, that's not a topic for us. We are focusing on biorefinery up to the level of preparing food. So we are deconstructing materials and we are reconstructing it and also stabilize it via novel packaging solutions. And we have a group which is also not so much discussed, but which I think also for Expo 2050 is important. That's about knowledge engineering. And knowledge engineering, in our case, it's not women and technology, it's men and technology. So we are looking for women who are willing to join our team. But they are looking to all the amount of data that are generated and how to make order in those kind of data sources. We not only look to food, but we look to a balanced way of using our renewable resources for food and non-food. So for functional molecules, for biomaterials, and for bioenergy. And in a way, with that approach, we link very well with the theme selected for Expo 2050, Feeding the Planet. So we're looking to a transition towards a bio-based society. And we are looking to food security and also to a transition to a fair, ethical and well-balanced society, and that is not easy. So it means that our scientific priorities has been linked to what we are doing in food, in nutrition, but also what we are doing in socio-economics and in natural sciences. If we don't do that, we never can end up with solutions that are needed for this challenge towards a viable planet, feeding the population at a viable planet. We need to work together. It's not our domain, but our partners in trying to end up with real solutions. Now, what have we heard today? We have had 4 main topics: nutrition, diets and health, food and sustainability, power and innovations, centered around 3 round tables, and we have had many, many examples. What do we need for a viable planet? We need to have healthy inhabitants, discussed. We need to have a viable habitat, environment, a little bit less discussed. We need to have a pleasant and respectful socio-economic context, a little bit less discussed, especially in a social context. And we are now in Italy, and as Dutch people we know if we like to design something and we look to the aesthetics of it, we need to come here. Next to a warm welcome, of course, but aesthetics is a key topic, and that is what we need to convince others. What is the current status? Are we heading in this direction? Well, the current status, if we look to the footprint of the full food production from agriculture to the usage of food or the consumption of food, and we look to the orange part for the various variables, for the various environmental impacts, compared to other sectors, other activities of us, labor, personal care, clothing, etc., we see that the orange part is the dominating part. So the food part has the largest environmental imprint, and thus we are also forced, we are morally forced to do something. That is from a negative point of view. We also can see it from a positive point of view. The ingredient sector is growing rapidly. Also other sectors, as for example in frozen food, they are growing. The area in functional molecules or in bio-based products is growing extensively. It's the only sector in the European Commission for Horizon 2020 which is more than 200% doubled in size, in activities. But in industrial terms, it is a 10-fold increase over 10 years' time. So there are opportunities if we are creative. We are facing severe concerns. We are facing urbanization. Not only that the rural areas are depopulated, but we are also facing all the problems in villages with all the waste concerns, and there were excellent examples today what you can do, but is what we are doing going as fast as the urbanization itself? It's an exploding figure. For example, here we can see in 2050 the expectation is 2/3 of the world will live in urban areas. We are facing global transport changes, and for example, this is a map of the Rabobank. Rabobank International is investing a lot in agriculture, and it's also sometimes a risky business, and they like to know what are the global streams, not only for global transport, also for the impact on regional production and territorial issues, which were also presented today. Territorial issues are a key for Europe. The European Commission often said Europe is maybe the best in valorizing regionally what we can do. But are we exploiting it also in this way? That's a key question. And is Milan Expo 2050 the area, the platform where we can show what we do in regions? It is so important for the people living there. So is this the future, yes or no? Or do we have lots of regional change as well? We are facing this extreme concern between the southern and the northern countries. This is transport in the southern countries, this is transport in the northern countries. This is production or processing in the southern countries, this is processing where we live. But from a natural point of view or a natural preservation point of view, there are other aspects of quality of life. So, but we are facing extremes, it's clear. We are facing extremes in water, it's nearly not mentioned, but in drought, but also this is a picture of the Netherlands in 2040. It's a creative photographer who has made this. And 2/3 of the Netherlands is below the sea level, so this is what's going to happen. This is also what's already happening. every 15 seconds a child dies of water shortage. What is the product, the food product with the highest added value? It's bottled water. What is the concern, or what is the other extreme? That every 15 seconds a child dies. That are extremes. And this has been discussed a lot, we are facing the extremes of undernourished people, billions of people, overnourished people. I like this cartoon very much. It's, even you can point it out in a positive way. And we are facing an aging society. And there was one remark made this morning: swimming is not enough, carrying a load is better. Well, this man has well understood the message. This is also what we are facing. We are facing differences between cultures and difference between continents and countries. In what we eat, it was expressed this morning in terms of fat, in terms of proteins, and the proteins, what was shown this morning, has been reduced 50% over the last 20 years in consumption patterns. And we can see it back in the way, in the food that we are eating. It is mainly cereals dominated, except for the developed countries where now meat is taking over. But, as stated, is that wise or is that not wise? And then, of course, the cereals that we need to produce meat. Luckily, we are also facing creativity in this domain, so we see people are making meat alternatives, which are now their first products are coming on the market, which are nearly as tasteful and as fibrous-like as real meat products. And we see that people are using and exploiting insects. That is very common in Asian countries, but not so common here. And I don't know if people like it, but I've been in the Netherlands. You have the restaurants of the future. And there we have been eating without knowing a pasta, 30% of insect-based proteins, and 70% cereal-based. Fantastic product, really. Could not be better, but we didn't know it. Later we were informed, and it was at least safe. So there are real opportunities, and also for developing countries. This is what we are facing, and if we look in Montpellier, where we look to combine cereal and vegetable products, there are now a lot of products on the market. We are facing dilemmas. We haven't had somebody with a neurophysiological background here, but I presume that at Expo 2015 this person will be there to understand what's taking place between here and there, and between there and somewhere below. Like the last speaker said, there are a lot of signals going, passing on in one direction, going back, etc. In a way, everything is related to the way we consume food, our history, our cultural background, etc. And we face dilemmas about food in the widest context, and neurophysiologists will certainly step in this area. We face also dilemmas such as GMOs or nano, and we underdid a little bit the bio in this case. This is not an Italian restaurant picture. But food is not a medicine, we have learned, but we can learn a lot from medicine. And we have different perceptions that we often forget. Some people see a few things in this topic, in this picture, others will see maybe something else. But it's up to you what you see and how you interpret it. This is real life. This is real life. But maybe this is also real life. This is also real life. It is up to your perception. Now, with all those extremes and all those examples, where are we heading to? That's a question that we have to address. We can address it for a specific food. We can address it for a specific disease. But overall, we still, if you choose feeding the planet, we have to look to it at the widest scale as possible. And I think with the current examples, and maybe it's extremely negative, but I'm a positive person, so I will come back with some positive examples. We are, at the moment, with our current approaches, only extending the expiry date of our planet. The examples are not sufficient to look to all the explosions taking place in, for example, the greenhouse gases that are emitted. I have some examples. This is about greenhouse gases. They are exploding. This is about the use of oil and the world population. This is about the growth of obesity. This is about, I don't remember, maybe it's something about water and dryness. if you look to this site, I don't know, is there somebody who knows this site, worldomatters.info? Somebody knows it? There you see it is quantified, for example, what happened with differences in food patterns, how much CO2 is increased, how much energy we are each second using more and more. And if you look to the figures, this is turning around and around and around. Each time we are using more and more and more and more and more, and we say that we are working with sustainable solutions. But it's a fantastic site to look to. And if we like to have a well-balanced, viable planet, we need to go to patterns like this. If we do something extreme, the system as a whole needs to rebalance itself. But what we see finally is that we go up, we go up, we go up, etc. So we need to do something more and drastic. We are near the mountains here, so I was thinking about a figure like this. So I think we are currently doing a lot of optimizations of our systems. We climb a mountain. If this is our base camp, then we are climbing a mountain which is nearby. And we get a wonderful wine, but it's produced most likely in Holland or in Germany. We also do more and more, luckily, reorientation, where suppose that this is our basement, then we are able to pass a valley and go to a top which is higher. Then we are rewarded with a wine. Now, I don't like to say the Languedoc-Roussillon. That was in the past, 20 years ago, that the quality was not so well, but today it's extremely well. But at least we are rewarded with quite a good wine. But what we need to do is to reshape our landscape and build mountains that are higher and climb those mountains, and then we are rewarded, of course, with a good Italian wine. So that is what I think is innovation. We need radical innovations. Now I'm living in France. This is a wonderful example of a radical innovation, a technological and a food science innovation. And you can preserve it many, many more hours if you have a system like this, instead of having two parts. So I like it very much, not only in technical sense, but also in organizational or in social and economical sense. How could we do that? That is then the question with those examples. I think if at Expo 2050 we use a positive approach, we are not walking away from the current status. It is of course important to show what the current status is, but we are going to show at the platform passionate examples as we have today. There are many, and I will show some of those. For the visitors, not only being physically here in Milan, but I've learned from Stefano, you can do it also in a virtual way. You can connect people somewhere around the globe. It is fantastic if you can connect people in South America or in Africa to what's taking place here in Milan. They are not able to afford to buy a ticket. But it's great if we can connect them, but also have their input and to have their, let's say, creative solutions or their concerns where we can help in creating creative solutions. We have heard a lot today about a lot of fantastic ideas, the city cargo tram, the olive oil waste, but then used for biofuels. We have the barbecue car, we have the back to the can example, we have the healthy snacks examples. We have some others which were not mentioned about steam cooking and about quick freezing. We are creative, and it's fantastic if you can show it. Even we can be more creative, and this is an example of the European Space Agency. Suppose that you are living in an interstellar space station. The theme is feeding the planet. Unfortunately, it's not feeding the space. Otherwise, they could have used this example. But there, you cannot, from a logistic point of view, you have a little bit of concern. There's not each 50 minutes leaving a truck to the interstellar space station. It is possible, but it's impossible to pay. So they need to develop a system which is fully self-supporting, a circular system where they use their own waste for create their own food. So there was a large project at the European Space Agency looking to close circles for all the organic matter in space stations. And they came up with wonderful solutions. You can produce mushrooms now in space stations. Those are extreme examples, but we can learn from extreme examples. So I think we have to look around to see what are the examples that we can present. This I just included at the latest moment in the transparencies. I like the example of packaging. Luckily, I've been working also 5 years in this area. And the topic ready to cook, ready to heat, I changed a little bit the order, ready to eat, ready to serve, and I included ready to store, and then we have like a chess game that we are going to play. And that is what we need to do. We need to play complex games to come up with real good solutions, and we need to map and visualize what's taking place. This already took from the web. This is a picture of Expo 2000, and I think it's a fantastic global map to show where the innovations are taking place. It also means that we have had a lot of individual examples. We need to go from individual bricks to an integrated picture. And how to combine it with that, we need, of course, as many persons already said, a multidisciplinary approach. And this is a picture of Escher, which is a drawer, a famous drawer, who is able to integrate all different aspects in one picture. How are things becoming, in a dynamic way, integrated? There are many, many examples of it, and I think at the Expo, there are options to show it. Is it possible? Is such an integrated approach possible? Yes, there were examples about lycopene this morning. I think Einstein gave the best example. E is mc square. Its energy is linked to the food mass. It's linked to our lifestyles, our dynamics way of life. C is the speed. So I think it's possible, and especially possible when women and technology are going to play a key role there. I don't know if I was forced to say that, but I'm objectively saying that. And I think they can do it in different ways. With all the modesty, I'm not allowed to say it. I'm a little bit an outsider. But what I have seen, I've been checking a little bit the website and the work that you are doing, and also the members, what they are doing. I think there could be a contribution in terms of aesthetic visualizations, also for people being connected around the globe, as the example before given. I think also for balanced solutions, not short-term solutions. Women have a tendency to look a little bit further to than men. There, I see that some people agree with me. I don't look to men now. I think there is a topic in managing the enormous data sources. There is a global harmonization initiative started by industry, because we generate so much data, but what is the consistency of it and how can we use it? I think here there is a key role to play. And I think also, and I hope also, keeping a track of history. That was one of the examples, also a very charming example of Firenze. What can we learn from history to do in the future? I think also it is our responsibility to do something, and like the organizer said this morning, smart people for smart cities is a key topic. And extend the network. It is not only food scientists and nutritionists, it's other people who need to step in. And maybe this is the most important that you can do. You have created Women and Technology. Maybe you can initiate an association, Men and Care. I think it doesn't exist, but I'm not sure. How to do it? And this is one of my last slides. This is what I have adopted from a friend or a former colleague. If we like to survive like a bird, we have to look around. And we have to do it in an integrated manner. There needs to be something lively below, and there also needs to be something in common with others around us. And we can work all in our disciplines and extend it, either in computer science or in economics, socioeconomic sciences, or natural or medical sciences, but somewhere it needs to come together and used for a strategy which is sustainable and innovative for the long term to tackle food security and transition to a bio-based society. This is a way that it could be presented, but to do it in practice is not easy. but I think that there are a lot of people who are willing to contribute it. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Hugo. Thanks for coming to Milan. I hope to see you very soon, before 215, because our project will start next year and will go on up to 216, before, during, and after Expo. Thanks a lot for coming. Grazie molte.